Hey everyone, it's Froggy, and I'm back again with another episode of the second reproduction, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start.
これで終わりか?
I said that as I glanced down at the man lying at my feet. I wanted to get it all done before the sky turned the color of dusk. I looked up again at the uncountable number of soldiers lying unconscious around the entrance to the village. Every single one of them had been well built with sturdy, battle-worn armor, but they were no match for us.
しかし偶然俺たちが遊びに来ていたから良かったものの、いなかった時を考えると。
ああ。
I glanced over at the board saying, "Welcome to the Wind Village, the village of flowers," and breathed a sigh of relief. I was glad it was still standing after all that. That's one less thing to worry about. I'd been closely monitoring the Wind Village since our last visit, and as a result, we'd successfully fought off the attack that destroyed it last time. If I'd told the demons the whole story, I could have acted a lot more openly instead of hiding behind excuses. But I couldn't have said anything like, "I know the future." They would have thought I was crazy. So as a result, I couldn't bring along as many soldiers as I wanted. But still, thanks to my plan, I got to meet some of the best fighters in Deathride. Like Greyville, who was standing beside me right now. He was old, but he held the title of General, and had a lot of guts.
すまなかったな、ラビル。
Don't worry about it. This serves as a nice appetizer to the fine wine of victory we'll enjoy afterwards.
その時はおごらせてくれ。
We patted each other's shoulders and laughed, praising each other's achievements like old friends. And then...
クリスティーナ!
ガルディス。
Gardis swooped down from the sky and tried to catch his breath, seemingly in a hurry. He must have flown as fast as he could after hearing about this from Jin.
襲われたと聞いたが、大事ないか?
ああ、レセともラビルもいたからな。この通り、なんともない。
I turned around as proof and Gardis let out a deep sigh.
なぜ私に黙って出かけたのだ? 私がいれば、このような奴らは一瞬で片付けてやったものを。
私だって軍人だ。守られなければならない女ではない。
故にこそだ。お前はいつもそうして無茶をするから、か弱い女よりもよほど心配でならん。
ガルディス、心配してくれるのはありがたいが。
まったく、お前からは様々な意味で目が離せない。いっそカゴにでも入れて、一日中私のそばに置いておけたらよいのだがな。
ガルディス、だから、
クリスティーナ、お前はもはやただの客では。
Your Majesty, shouldn't you be delighted that we're all safe?
はあ、なんだ、お前たちもいたのか。ああ、よかったな。嬉しいぞ。
全然嬉しく聞こえない。
ははは、冗談だ。お前たちも無事でいてくれて本当によかった。それにしてもクリス、偶然とはいえよくぞウィントの村を守ってくれた。
ああ。
His tearful eyes met mine for a moment. Huh? Is that... There was something gleaming from the forest behind us. I quickly pushed Gardis away and rushed forwards, acting as a barrier between him and the threat. But at the same time, something came flying through the air towards us. I couldn't move fast enough, and it grazed my arm, sending a sharp pain up my shoulder and making me grimace.
クリスティーナ!
The gleaming light had been an arrowhead, which was now stuck in a tree behind us. Had I not pushed Gardis away, it would have flown straight through him. There's still some soldiers left. I placed my palm against my wound. There was blood, but not much, so I was safe for now. I could still beat up the archer without even trying. As I made to go after our would-be assassin, my footsteps suddenly came to a halt. Raw instinct took over my body and I shook, terrified. Right in front of me was a horrifying face I'd never seen before. The man had no facial expressions. His face was completely blank. Just looking at him made a cold sweat run down my back.
ガルディス。
召してくれる。
Gardis disappeared before I could say anything. The moment I realized he was gone, I heard a painful screech come from the forest.
盗賊崩れの分際で私の傷つけるとは万死に値する。
Between the sounds of his sword swinging down, I heard Gardis' cold yet horrible enraged voice enter my ears.
ガルディス、私は何ともないからやめろ。
The area suddenly fell into silence. The sound of blood gushing out from the sword hacking into the soldier's body came to an abrupt stop. It took several seconds for Gardis to reluctantly come out of the woods. His clothes were covered in blood, and his face showed a sullen expression. I sighed and brushed away the blood on his cheek, as if trying to calm down a stubborn child.
むやみに命を奪ってはならない。
だがお前を傷つけたのだぞ。
And you were his intended target. Was what I wanted to say, but I didn't. I was worried he might blame himself instead.
たとえそうであっても、私はお前に人を傷つけてほしくない。本当は誰よりも優しい男なのだから。
Your Majesty, are there any left?
いや、他の気配はしなかった。あの者で最後だろ
う。ガルディス、頼みがある。
なんだ？
俺の首輪を外してくれないか。
The topic had come up earlier, so I wasn't surprised by the request or anything. What I was surprised about was the timing. Why now?
今日のこの村を救った功績があれば、俺たちへの信用は完全なものとなる。だから、首輪はもう不要だ。
確かに、それで文句を言う者はおるまい。ラビルはどう思う？
My thoughts are the same, my lord.
ではレセト、こちらに来い。
ああ。
I'd completely forgotten about the ring recently, but it was still a relief, knowing that it was finally getting removed. Gardis pressed his long finger against the ring and slowly gave off a dim light. As it slowly reduced its brightness, I saw Lisette murmur something, in a voice quiet enough not to reach me.
からな。
我が魂に誓って。
As Gardis gave his reply, the ring suddenly flashed a bright white, then crumbled into fragments of light and vanished.
なんだ？何を言ったんだ？
男同士の秘密だ。
教えろ、レセト。
諦めてください。男の友情と秘密は固いんですよ。
もう。
はははは。
If humans and demons could be friends like this, and everyone in the world would hold hands together, it would be wonderful, I'm sure. The evening sun, which once brought sorrow into my heart, now filled me with warmth. We bathed in the warm orange glow of the sunset, and let ourselves blend into the atmosphere. The refreshing sound of the bells echoed through my ears. After returning from Wind Village, I went to the church to pray. Whenever I harmed someone, I would always go to the church and pray. It was something I'd done for a long time. As I stood in the church, all by myself, I felt the ambivalence resting within me wash away.
ラーメイか。
お前が教会に来るなんて珍しいな。
語らねばならない話があったからな。
Couldn't he tell me later, back at the castle? I tilted my head, confused. Why did he have to speak to me in a church of all places? Seeing me mentally prepare myself for the worst, Gardis gave a weak smile.
不穏な話ではない。いや、お前たちにとっては十分に不穏か。そろそろ話しても良い頃かと思ったのだ。今のお前ならばきっと受け入れられるに違いないと。
一体何の話だ？
It wasn't like Gardis to talk in such a roundabout way. Whatever he was about to discuss was worthy of hesitation, it seemed. Feeling uneasy, I frowned and looked at him, trying to get him to hurry it up. But Gardis wasn't looking at me. He was gazing at the stained glass window near the ceiling, murmuring as if confessing a sin.
この世界がもともと月神と非神の支配を受け安定していた世界だというのは知っているか？
ああ、以前教本で学んだ。
I answered lightheartedly to his surprisingly anticlimactic setup. But melancholy clouded Gardis's face upon hearing my reply.
では、その月神が長らく暗海に去っているせいで均衡を崩している状態だというのは？
均衡を崩している？
I repeated his words blankly, unsure of what to make of them. Gardis slowly closed his eyes, hiding his dust-colored pupils from me. He breathed in deeply, as if trying to come to some kind of resolution, then began to speak again.
そうだ。初代デスライード女王、お祖母様が魔王となった以降は各地に魔王が立ち加護を与えていたおかげで収まっていたが。
待って。
My mind couldn't keep up with all the information being thrown at me. I spoke without thinking, and had to take a few moments to calm myself down. Then with a surprised voice, I asked Gardis something. I lowered my voice because we were in a church, and because what Gardis was talking about was almost taboo.
魔王がこの公会を支えていただと？
やはり信じられんか。
Not just in heterodoxism, but in all other teachings of Lame too. It said that the world was being eaten up by demons. While orthodoxism asked its followers to forgive the demons for existing, heterodoxism simply regarded them as evil, opposing the demons for their corrosion of the world. If what Gardis just said about the demon lords and ladies was true, every single human alive would lose their foundations of their faith. That's how deep the spiritual influence of Lame's teachings were on humanity.
にわかには信じられないが、お前が今さら嘘をつくとも思えない。
After hearing my honest thoughts, Gardis looked at me and chuckled. Then he looked over at the statue of Lame and began to talk, his tone nostalgic.
時とは残酷なものだ。最初はあれほどありがたがっていたというのに、長い時が流れるにつれ、人々はその恩恵と理由を忘れていった。挙句、偶然発生してしまった天才を魔王のせいにしだし、魔族狩りまで始めてな。魔が滅んでいくことで人々の生活はさらにすさみ、それを魔族の呪いだとして、人はより魔族を迫害していった。なんとも皮肉な悪循環だとは思わんか。
In other words, the history I'd been taught as a human was completely wrong. Nobody would have thought that us humans, who were trying to save the world, had already been saved by the demons instead. Even though I was currently on the demon's side, I couldn't accept something like that so easily. Everything I thought I knew about the world had been turned upside down. I began to wonder if everything before my eyes was just an illusion. I'd come this far believing in myself, so what could I do now? The answer was obvious, of course. I didn't need to ask anything. Ever since I'd begun to doubt the teachings of heterodoxism, I'd been preparing myself for something like this in the corner of my heart. Accepting Gardis' words would mean that I was the evil one, not the demons. As the faces of all the people I'd killed appeared on my mind's eye, the trembling in my fingers began to spread. I couldn't keep calm anymore. I clenched my fist and cried out, my head bowed low.
この人の世すべてが偽りならば、私は何を信じればいい?
As he watched me drown in shock and sorrow, Gardis gave an answer in a firm voice.
お前の心を最後に信じられるのはいつも己の心だけだ。魔族も人もそれは変わらん。己の心を一番の味方として生きている。私がこれを語ったのは、せめてお前にだけは分かっていてほしかったからだ。この世の中に一人でも理解者がいると思うだけで、たとえ死しても私の心は救われる。
死ぬなどと。
私は魔王だ。今の世ではいつ滅ぼされてもおかしくはない。
He'd said something similar in the past, but the weight in my heart was far heavier now. Even though he hadn't done anything wrong, Gardis still accepted all the accusations the world threw at him. That thought sent discontent and regret through me, more than anything else.
ただ気がかりなのは、私がいなくなった後のこの世界のことだ。世界が滅すれば、魔族ばかりか人の命も消えてしまう。
お前を討伐しようとしている人間まで。
悪は人そのものではない。誰にでも潜む恐れや悲しみがこの流れを作ってしまったのだ。
ガルディス。
A question from before suddenly rose back into my mind. That's weird. It's all contradicting now. Gardis cares about his own race, but he sympathizes with humans too. Would someone like that really kill the people of Crofts?
ガルディス、嘘はつかずに答えてほしい。
ん？
お前は本当にクロフツを滅ぼしたのか？私にはどうしてもそう思えない。沈黙するのは嘘がつけないから。つまりお前がやっていないからだろ。
なぜそこまで言い切れる？
お前は両族を思いやれる心を持っている。そんなことができるわけがない。
それは買いかぶりというものだ。私はお前が思うほど高尚な存在ではない。欲にまみれたただの男だ。
Leaving those words behind, he turned around and began to walk away, as if declaring the conversation over.
待て、ガルディス。なぜ？
The pale blue moonlight shining through the stained glass reflected the divine bird's image on the floor. Gardis was exactly like that. So close, yet untouchable. The beauty I longed for was just an illusion, and his true self was in a faraway place. And I'm going to go ahead and end this episode here for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos like this one, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.